seems it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance fall that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome back to Rogue Soul, where tonight it is the winning report, in which we look at all of the world's news, but with an eye towards how we win, as we see through the agenda, the bias, all of the logical fallacies that just fly around these days, the AI nonsense, the psyops, and more. And especially, we also look through our spiritual eye, knowing that we are spiritual beings, and that if we are soul over matter, which we are, then we've already won. So, of course, there could be nothing better than that. It's a big week. We've got the ICE PSYOP in full-fledged swing in Minneapolis, raiding churches and the like. We've got Davos. We've got the WEF forum is happening, which is different than it's ever been before, which is crazy to witness. It's a weird time to be alive. Also different than ever before, we've got Bill and Hillary Clinton that are being held in contempt of Congress, which means they could actually be arrested now. It's a weird and wonderful time, and I love it. There's a lot of chaos, but there's a lot of good in it, and so we'll look at all of that. And also, I want to always invite you. There's just a few more days of January 2026 here, and so if you want the 2026 tarot reading, there's just a few more days to grab one. That's there on my site at roguesoul.org. You can go to schedule a session. You'll see the 2026 tarot readings. All the other tarot readings, past life, and all of that is still there. So we can still do past life readings, anything else, sound healing, and all of that. Anytime you want, we've got that there available for you. And I love, of course, to meet with you. It's my greatest honor in life is that I get to serve you all in a spiritual way. And so, thank you to everybody who also receives from that. It helps me, it helps you, it helps the world. It's the only thing that really matters. So I hope that you go grab a session for yourself as you see fit. And I also have the Dream Walking course is returning in just about a week's time or so. In February 1st will be the first day we meet. We're going to meet all through February. This is the biggest class I offer in terms of direct hours you get of instruction and practice. So it's the most hours, of class and one-on-one and practicum, that time that you get. And so what is it? It ends up being, I think, 20 some hours of class time and practicum time. So it's a big, big benefit and highly worthy, highly worth the money. The other classes I give they're all different. They're all wonderful. They're all beautiful. They all go together perfectly, by the way, as well. But the Dream Walking class is, for me, one of the most fun because everybody dreams. Yes, even you, even if you think you don't. And that's part of the class, is learning how to dream even if you think you don't. So even people who think they don't dream can take this class. Helping you dream more deeply, helping you understand what your dreams mean, but also understanding that your dreams connect you to source, and that you can therefore know anything, do anything, manifest anything, speak to people who have passed and are now in heaven or beyond, anything. So it is a really powerful class, and especially for people who don't feel like they're spiritually gifted or aware, it is probably the best class to take to help you realize, yes, you are. So even people who are sort of unbelievers, non-dreamers, people who feel spiritually dense have taken this class and been like, wow, that changed my whole life. And yes, even if you are a dreamer and you remember your dreams and you already analyze them to some degree, this will also change your life. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or not, this class is for you. I really hope you join us. If you have the coupon code, you can get $222 off. That is if you have signed up for my email list. You've gotten the email with the coupon code in it. Whatever date I originally told you, the coupon code wasn't working for some people, even though it worked for others, and that was confusing. So I fixed it, and that just gave everybody even longer to use the coupon code. So my mistake is your gain. I think you can still use it even as far as today and beyond. And so check that out. If you're on the Substack, if you're subscribed to my Substack, you also got that coupon code. So it's still active now. Use your coupon code. Come join us for the class that will change your life. That's coming up soon. You can find all of this at roguesoul.org, or like I said, on rogueways.substack.com. If you're subscribed there, you also would have already known all of this. So be subscribed to all of the above. Come check it out on the site or otherwise, and be a dream walker. I do also offer certification for everyone who meets the sort of requirements, which is just your participation in the class and the homework that's assigned and the various tasks that we have. And so it's pretty accessible if you're actually committed to the class to be certified then as a dream walker. That's through myself, Rogue Soul. Just Rogue Soul, and also the Association for Spiritual Integrity. So you get certified as well. And so I'd love to provide that certification for you. But more so, I'd love to help you change your life. So check it out. Dream walking is for you. Otherwise, let's get into it tonight. And we're starting at the top from what I have saved from January 15th until now, right? We do this once a week. So here we are. Press Secretary Leavitt said the Democratic Party's demeaning of ICE by referring to them as Nazis and the Gestapo is absolutely leading to the violence we're seeing in the streets. And showing CNN's headline says the media is absolutely complicit in this violence. That's obvious. It's not a partisan thing to say. It is absolutely true. You know, I keep talking about what is it that's actually making people freak out right now, because there is literally nothing ICE is doing differently right now than they were last year or 5 years ago or 20 years ago. It's exactly the same. 25 years ago, I mean, like my whole life, it's been exactly the same. Literally nothing's different except the media's take on it, the media's coverage of it. In fact, you've probably seen the clip floating around where CNN just a few years ago was riding along with ICE and like, oh, they're getting dangerous criminals and look at how they do it. And everything about it was positive. And now CNN today is like, it's literally the end of the world. It's the Gestapo. And like, yeah, and that's the difference. And that's the difference. So if you found yourself emotionally reacting towards ICE, you have to stop and ask yourself, what about right now is different than last year or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? And the answer is literally nothing. So if you've been caught up in this, it's okay. It's because you're a loving, compassionate person. It's because you don't want to see people injured. It's because also you might be afraid of a police state that you've been worrying about for some time. And then logically, you can just step yourself back from that edge and say, oh, literally nothing's different. In fact, there's less ICE activity than there was 4 years ago, 10 years ago, less. So everyone can take a step down. But she's right. It's the media. And the media, by the way, is doing all of this at the behest of our enemies. So even if you don't have a patriotic bone in your body, I get it. I didn't most of my life. In fact, I thought I hated the United States most of my life. And only in recent years have I sort of rethought that position. And, so our enemies at a national level are the ones who are funding this rhetoric and this narrative and all of the anti-ICE activity. And by our enemies, I literally mean wealthy Chinese Communist Party billionaires. And then the globalists, a la Soros and the like. Those are the people funding this. So it's cool if you really believe in that cause and you actually think the US should be dismantled and you actually believe like there should be nothing like ICE that exists in the world, which is an interesting fantasy that we could get into another time. And that's fine, but just know whose side you're on. Like, know whose line you're promoting. Know who is controlling your emotional buttons and making you react. And know to what end they're doing that. And the end is the destruction of your nation. And again, if that's what you're all about, cool. But if it's not what you're about by chance, you might want to wonder if you're going about it the best way, or if you're reacting to the right things, or maybe you shouldn't be reacting at all. Maybe you should become healed enough in yourself that you respond instead of react. That might be great. So moving on, multiple buildings cave in after a large fire breaks out following an explosion in the Dutch city of Utrecht. It turns out to be a gas-related incident. I had saved this at first because we are seeing some sinkholes around the world that are swallowing buildings. And so I wondered if this was connected. It seems not to be. So, geomagnetic excursion and earth changes not connected to this one, but to many other things this week that we'll get to. It might make you happy, sad, or neutral to know that abortion numbers hit a record high in England and Wales. So that's a exploding trend. Medical suicide and abortions, they're trending right now. We're in a very anti-life sort of culture right now, whether, outside of the religious, spiritual sort of like takes and sides on those issues, you can just look at it and say, it's definitely an anti-life culture. And then you can kind of wonder about who does it serve to have an anti-life culture. Probably not humans. So probably not most humans. And then you can kind of dig in from there. Venezuela's acting president has called for oil industry reforms to allow more foreign investment in her first State of the Union speech. So she seems to be coming along with what the U.S. wanted, whether you like that or not. That's what's happening now in Venezuela. So not only do many of the people, most of them, seem to be very happy that regime is crushed, Maduro's regime and the Cartel of the Suns, but also what's left of the ruling establishment seems to be going along with U.S. interests, corporate interests, and otherwise geopolitical interests, which again, you can like it or not, but before it was serving China, who wants to destroy us, and now it's serving us, who doesn't want to destroy us. So it's kind of, you can at least take that into consideration wherever you're at on it. An exiled Iranian journalist, Masih Ali-Nahad, speaking at the emergency UN Security Council meeting, said the Iranian people are asking the world to help through actions, not back-to-back meetings and empty condemnation. We don't need empty words. A lot of people feeling really divided about this too. This is the Iranian revolution that seems to be going on against the theocratic, religious, Islamic, deeply tyrannical government. And a popular uprising, even if, and it has been, promoted by the US and Israel, even with their promotion of it, it is also true that it is a tyrannical government and that the people there used to not have a tyrannical religious government. And so many people there remember that and they want that back. Is it the majority or not? I mean, really, it's hard to say because the suppression of people there involves torture and death. So just like China, if you speak out against it, your life will be either cut short or ruined in many ways, and perhaps your family punished in various ways. So it's really hard to get the pulse. But, I pointed out last week that even if the US and Israel are in there promoting this rebellion, that doesn't mean that it doesn't serve the people. So don't let your hatred of Israel cloud your ability to see whether or not this uprising could be good for the Iranian people. Things can serve Israel or the US or this corporation or that corporation or something and also be good for people. So don't pretend that's not possible. It's okay if you decide something else and that's not what you like and you want it to be the religious, tyranny there and you want the people to be under that's fine for you to decide, right? But don't pretend that it can't be both good for Israel and the people of Iran. So they haven't yet got the help she was asking for at this UN meeting. As far as we can tell, nothing has happened to support the people there from outside governments, except, like we said, perhaps some of the media and some of the things being leaked out despite the turning off of the internet and the Starlink and everything. And maybe some of that has been got out, because of the US and Israel's actions, so little things, but nothing we can say, oh, look, right? It's not like we went in and grabbed their leader like we did Maduro. So nothing big yet. We'll see. Venezuelan opposition leader Machado. So she's not the government there, but she's the one that they gave the Nobel Peace Prize to. She presented Trump her Nobel Peace Prize medal. Remember, she had already said he deserved it as soon as she received it. She said she thought maybe he should have been given it instead, and that she wanted him to have it. That was months ago. Now she's actually given him the medal. He has it. And which is hilarious. It's cute. It's great. I love it. I don't care. Do whatever you want with your medal. But what's hilarious is the level of like childlike mentality with which the Nobel Peace Prize Commission were like, well, that doesn't mean that he got it. Like, yeah, dude, like who was confused about that? Like you didn't even need to say it, you absolute 5-year-olds. Nuh-uh, I'm gonna tell my mom you did that. Like, okay, guys, maybe you can grow up, dude. She's allowed to give her medal to whoever she wants. Okay, something creepy now. Japanese researchers develop a skin implant made from genetically engineered skin that glows fluorescent green when inflammation is detected. Like, why do we need weird zombie rats with glowing skin? When inflammation is detected, like, dude, who's not inflamed right now? Are there humans walking around without inflammation? I don't know how they've achieved it. I sometimes imagine if you lived like a kind of perfect childhood and you had no trauma and you always had good nutrition and you like always exercised and you've just maintained that throughout life, you might not have inflammation. But I've never met people like, I don't know if they exist. Like most people have trauma of various types. And not necessarily the best nutrition. So I don't know, but this living sensor display would allow for continuous monitoring of blood biomarker levels without electronics or wires. Oh yeah, just put glowing skin implants into people. It's a great idea, you absolute maniacs. Why? There is no need for this at all, but there they are doing it. That's how our science seems to go. It's just little children in adult bodies playing weird games. Oof. All right. Ashley St. Clair. This is the mother, the most recent mother. I think he has like 12 mothers of his children, but the most recent mother of one of Elon Musk's children, as far as I know. She's sued Twitter or X AI for harassment, accusing Grok of generating sexually explicit images of her without her consent. To be clear, she's talking about pictures of her in like a bikini. Is that sexually explicit? I don't know. I mean, people go to the beach in the bikini, so like everyone can see it. She's probably pictured somewhere in the world in her bikini. I don't know her, but I thought she was like maybe sort of an OnlyFans person. Maybe I'm totally tripping. But I bet if she's a public figure of any kind, a celebrity of any kind, that she's probably like done a photo in a bathing suit or been photographed in her bathing suit. So I don't know if you can really make an argument against Grok for putting you in a bathing suit. If Grok was making naked images, then I could see you have a case here. That could be something, but it hasn't. Grok doesn't, as far as I know, everyone's been trying really hard for the past week. This has been like a thing people are doing, putting everyone in bathing suits. They've been trying to get, more than that exposed, but it's not working. So I don't think she really has a case. We'll see. It's kind of, she's actually just mad that Elon Musk might be taking his child back from her because she wants to trans her kid. So I think it's more that than anything else. And I think everyone kind of knows that. So that we'll see. Who cares? A large Africa-shaped rare blue diamond has been found by Petra Diamonds in South Africa's Cullinan mine, with experts believing it could reach up to 30 million pounds at auction. That is a huge diamond. It is massive. I wish they told us how many pounds it was. But it's Africa shaped too, which I mean, sure, kind of. If you turn it the other way, it's South America shaped. So whatever. But that's neat. They've got that diamond. All righty. PM, Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada cuts Canada's 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles in exchange for lower tariffs on Canadian agricultural exports to China. This story gets worse than that. This is the beginning of it. Mark Carney is essentially pairing with Canada and also at the same time cutting ties with the US. This is the move. So I've been saying this for years. We've been in a fifth generation war with China for years. It's been heating up for years. This is it getting much hotter. The Maduro thing was 100% about China, much hotter, right? The whole Panama Canal thing was 100% about China, much hotter. Now there's this. Now Greenland is in the mix. That's all about China. And here China is gaining access, even further access to Canada as Canada is cutting ties with the US. Cool. Canada gets to decide to do whatever it wants. But as far as things are going to go, if Canada continues to push this line and invite China in, they're not going to win. China and Canada combined still aren't going to win. If it comes down to it, the US is always going to trounce them. I'm not saying that because I have some weird, arrogant, like, US is the greatest and like can't do wrong. No, I'm just saying realistically, we have far more capacity to destroy you both, even if you're united. So it's a silly gesture. It's going to harm Canadians because it's a bad trade deal. They had a better trade deal even with all the tariffs with the US. And you know, it's gonna hurt their economy deeply. So I feel sad for Canadians with this, but it's going to fall apart sooner or later, hopefully sooner for as far as the Canadian citizens go. It's definitely stoking things hotter, though, hotter and hotter between China all the time. CIA Director Joan Ratcliffe met Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, in Caracas for a 2-hour meeting that had to do with her decision to allow more investment from the US, basically. And so that's just that moving along. Trump says he will work with the remnants of the Maduro regime so Venezuela doesn't become Iraq. So that seems to be going okay, even if no one likes it. Israel's Mossad director, David Barnea, is in the US for discussions on Iran with White House envoy Steve Witkoff. They've been busy, because Witkoff's also been flying and talking with Putin or Russian representatives. So lots going on the geopolitical stage here. Russia's the wild card. Ostensibly, Russia's our enemy, right? Ostensibly, Russia's involved with China and BRICS and all of this. And I don't really believe it, though. I believe that actually Russia and the US are parts of the US that aren't on the globalist satanic side of things are actually working together. So that's my secret pet observation. You might have also come to that conclusion. We'll see what the future shows us. Trump tapped Marco Rubio, Tony Blair, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and World Bank President Ajay Banga as founding members of the so-called Board of Peace. It will also include Apollo Global Management CEO Mark Rowan and Trump's former Deputy National Security Advisor Robert Gabriel. A second committee called the Gaza Executive Board has also been formed with Witkoff, Kushner, Blair, Rowan, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, senior Qatari diplomat Ali Thawadi, Egyptian intelligence chief Hassan Rashad, UAE Minister of International Cooperation Reem Al-Hashimi, Israeli Cypriot businessman Yakir Gabe, former UN humanitarian coordinator Sigrid Kaag, and former UN envoy to the Middle East Nikolai Mladenov as members. Yes, this is the Technocratic Board of Peace, which we've talked about as quite an interestingly worrisome progression. I will still take it over the satanic globalist world domination scheme. And we will have to be very careful with the technocratic part of things, especially if it aims to ever become a world government. This is a different form of world government than the globalists were after, which was like one world government, one world religion, one world culture. This perhaps seems like more like the model of the Republic. And if that is true, I will thank all of our stars that we made it to that much better outcome than the single one world government centralized power system. Still dangerous, still lots of road landmines to avoid, still great deep vigilance and higher consciousness needed in the world. Absolutely not out of the woods, and also better. So just be aware that those things can be true at the same time. I don't know why people are so stupid. I don't know why they can't get beyond black and white thinking. But when I talk about the technocrats and them being better, the Luciferians being better than the satanic globalists, people like lose it. And they're like, you're saying you want the technocrats? Like, actually, no, I never said that. If you could just like be a little bit less emotional and reactive, you might be able to have a conversation about something with people who see things a little bit differently than you. Perhaps it might even be helpful. So, and we've talked ad nauseum too about like, what would you actually do with Israel and Palestine at this point? What would you do? And what I find is that people do not have an answer. All they have is that anything that happens is bad. They don't have an answer. Sometimes when they do have an answer, they say kick Israel out and every Israeli out and all the Jewish people have to go. That's not going to happen. And then other people are like, well, kick all the Palestinians out and they all have to go. Well, that's not going to happen either. So what do you want to happen? We could drop nukes on all of them and just kill everybody. Or we could try something else. I don't love any outcome. I have not been able to think of a single solution to this problem for my entire life. And I don't think anyone else has either. None that I've heard that are actually able to take place. So yeah, I don't know, outside of a meteor striking it or some nukes going down, like this is maybe something to at least try and see what happens. That's the best I can say for it, So the Board of Peace, it's a thing. Then it said in the charter, as I read to you when it came out, a technocratic government. Specific language there. So fascinating. So I would like to see what happens with that. The Department of Justice is investigating Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey for conspiracy to impede immigration agents. There's more than that now. This was back on the 16th, right? More than that has come about. But these people, and it's sad because the people who are consider themselves Democrats or leftists or progressives, right? They're going to look at this and just see like a tyrannical attack on these people. But if they were rational, if they could actually think about just the facts and take their emotional reactivity and volatility out of it, you can see that this is actually just true. They did have a conspiracy. They do and did have a conspiracy to impede immigration agents, most likely to cover up for their deep corruption and fraud that allowed billions of dollars to flow into the hands of undeserving fraudsters, mostly Somalian, and most of that then go out of the country to fund our enemies. Yeah, treason at the least. So conspiracy is the lightest of the charges that might be brought against them, and they're deserving. Even if you're not a Republican, you should be able to see that. Oh gosh. So we have all these protesters also going out onto the street. Andy Ngo, again, does a very good job if you're looking for straight up journalism that actually looks into the facts, who's funding who these people actually are, which organizations they are, who the leaders of those organizations are, what their tactics are, what their own papers and documents say about them and what they're doing. Andy Ngo is always the best. He has a Substack. He's on Twitter. He's very open with most of his findings. And so you can find a lot there, but he says Operation Inflation, the far left group that takes donations to buy costumes to make violent Antifa and far left rioting look like a children's event on camera, has released a video urging violence. And they have a video in which someone's telling them it's time to get violent, it's time to go out on the streets, it's time to stop these people, it's time to get in their way, it's time to, all this stuff. And they have a quote from the video that he shares here: "We are not interested in peace. Fascism has arrived." They urge for the killings of political targets such as Kristi Noem and more. And so, no, they're not peaceful. And yes, that's an insurrection. And also, you're not allowed, it's not protected speech to threaten to murder people. So there's that. That's happening. And so he does a great job exposing a lot of that, because there's still people who think like the people protesting ICE are actually just protesting. And they're not. They're actively getting in the way of federal agents and other agents who are carrying out legal and lawful detentions and deportations. And so, you have the right to gather peacefully, but it's not peaceful to then actually interrupt an active operation. And you don't have the right to actively interrupt an operation. So gather peacefully, have your signs, say your things, whatever, make your noise, blow your whistles. And if you're doing that in a public space, then that's allowed, that's protected. But when you're going beyond that, actively and intentionally and over again, you're no longer just protesters and you're no longer a protest group. So, yeah, and this gets into this whole discussion too, where people are like, oh, so you think it's okay? You think it's okay for ICE to be doing this? And yeah, I do. I mean, it's like literally okay. I mean, as in it's legal, it's allowed. They haven't done anything that's outside of their bounds or illegal. I, for one, have been more than open about if there were a law that were not right, that were morally wrong, I would not be following it. And otherwise, like, laws are exceptionally appropriate tools for human civilization. We have them for a reason. And so laws and rules are appropriate for sure. And if they somehow passed a law that said, like, you have to kill your firstborn child and offer it to Moloch, I'd be like, well, of course not, obviously. But they have laws like this, which are that you can't come into this country illegally. And then if so, we're going to deport you. And that's perfectly reasonable for a country to have for itself. I got this whole debate with this guy. I don't know who he is. His name is Alec something on Twitter. He has like a ton of followers. And he was like, well, what gives ICE the right? And I'm like, we did. We deputized them and gave them the authority to go finding people who are here illegally and taking them out. And he's like, yeah, but if you don't have that right, then how can they have that right? They shouldn't have authorities that we don't have. I said, oh, I have that right. If someone comes into my house and I don't want them there, I have the right to kick them out. Right? I do have that authority. We've given them that authority even in public spaces and other people's private spaces. And we have that right. We couldn't, for example, go out tomorrow and go into someone's house as non-agents and be like, where's your illegals? Give them up and like take people. Obviously, we have delineated that to a specific group of people so that we can monitor how it's done and make sure it's being done in a way that is appropriate. So I do have that right. So his whole thing was, you don't because you can't go into someone else's house. Well, I could if I was an ICE agent. See, I mean, it's a weird argument to make that like we can't give anybody any special permissions as a society, even though that's absolutely been the way that society has worked all throughout time. And, people get into this voluntarist argument, and I've talked about anarchy, and I'm a promoter of anarchy, and voluntarism is another word for that, basically. And we've talked about the non-aggression principle and all of these things. And even then, when I've done whole shows deep diving into those principles and promoting them as the ideal for human civilization, I will always say, and we don't live in an ideal world. And right now, we're not anarchists. And so here and now, what can we do to maintain civilization and move towards the ideal? And in that scenario, these laws and this legal system is the best thing we've ever had on Earth. And so it's okay to be using it for now, especially because it doesn't break any kind of universal law or moral laws. And when it does, we change it and we address it. And that's good. That's how it should be until we get to the ideal. But don't let the ideal be the enemy of the good. Don't let the ideal be the enemy of the good. Have the ideal move towards the ideal. And in the meantime, recognize you live in here in reality in this collective space. And how are you going to keep illegal people from flooding and invading your nation? And how are you going to deal with it when they do? And if your answer is don't, I mean, you can fuck right off, because I'm not going to let people invade my space, rape our children, take over our spaces, absolutely inflict their horribly tyrannical culture instead of the one we have that's pretty freaking good. You can be welcome to do that in your mind, but in reality, that's not the world we live in. And I'm not going to be down for that sort of invasion that especially puts women and children's lives at risk. So to defend yourself is always okay. It's always okay under any situation ever. It's always okay. And so, and then getting into what is defense and what is violence and not, that's its whole thing too. I have plenty of articles about it on my Substack, talked about it plenty, but just to say, if you're still on that sort of bent of like all authority is bad and wrong, and that it's somehow bootlicking to like be okay with maintaining your authority, your sovereign authority in your communities, your neighborhoods, your cities, your states, your nation. There's something going on there that's beyond, your rhetoric or your idealism. And it usually comes back to an unhealed aspect of yourself in which you were probably mistreated or abused at some point by something you identified as an authority. And now you just hate all versions of authority, even when it's against your own best interest. And that's what I find most often in the alternative community. It's what I find in the conspiracy theory community. And it's not actually what I find with people like Alec who are hardcore, committed idealists to the anarchic or a voluntarist principle. What I find there instead is a deep inability to acknowledge that you won't get to the ideal unless it's through the real. And so again, don't let the ideal be the enemy of the real or the good. So I don't know, some food for thought for you all. So yeah, we got so much. I don't even know if I'm going to get through it all today. There's so many things that I've put in here too that are mostly like different groups or areas trying to sort of ban ICE in one way or another, and then different people trying to get in ICE's way. And then, yeah, just the outcry from all these things. Here's another fun one. Federal discrimination complaint has been filed against Eureka, United States School District 389 in Kansas after they reportedly banned students from choosing Jesus or President Trump as role models for a school assignment. They then told their students not to tell the parents about the issue because the school shouldn't be considered in their family. Like, what? So not only did you make a big no-no as teachers in school, but then you also like doubled down on it. It was like, this will be our little secret, kids. So stupid. Obviously, teachers should not be telling you who your role models can be. Your job is maybe to teach like a writing skill or a speaking skill. And if you didn't want to find out who their role models were, you shouldn't give them that assignment. You don't get to decide who it is for them. Latin Kings gang member is arrested after stealing a rifle from a federal agent's car. This person was stupid enough to go unmasked and carry their phones and be live streamed while breaking into a federal vehicle and stealing the rifle. So obviously they were going to get arrested, and they have been. That is the guy with the face tattoo that stole the rifle out of the truck, or the car rather. As I said, you're not serious people if you're live streaming your crimes. Have fun, whatever you think you're doing. People are getting arrested for all these things. And yes, ICE agents have real bullets in their guns. So your delusions about what you think are happening does not make reality safer for you. I feel free. All right. But the other thing is these people who consider themselves like, revolutionaries and anti-ICE freedom fighters or whatever, they're going around literally just harassing random people. So what's so awesome about this is how ironically stupid you have to be to do this. And here's what I mean. If you're sitting there saying ICE shouldn't be allowed to randomly detain and search and whatever, that's tyrannical. And so we're going to stop them by randomly detaining and searching people, you fucking idiots. God damn it. I swear to God, 100% of the time you can see whatever it is they say they don't like, they do it too, but worse. Here's a video of them that you're not going to see unless you've seen it on your own, in which they pull over a car, they force it off the road, and they make the guy get out and prove to them that he's not ICE. And by the way, he's not ICE. So people are like, oh, ICE is profiling and ICE is detaining random people and ICE is doing this. So let's do it too because it's wrong. What? Oh my God. Oh my God. Have fun with that. If you try to run me off the road, I might fear for my life and you might not like how that turns out. And honestly, I hope you run into more of those type of people. Ew. Canada, some people in Canada are not happy about Mark Carney siding with China, and they want to, side with the United States instead. And this is leading to even more sort of secessionist talk in Canada. Mark Carney is then now labeled an enemy by some people. This is also fueling the Free Alberta movement, the Alberta secessionist movement, which has been historic and awesome to watch. People are lined up for like miles and miles to sign this petition to secede. They're probably going to secede. And honestly, if Canada tries to stop them, the US would be very smart to help them, especially now that China's moving in even deeper to Canada. We probably also want to move in deeper to Canada. So if they'll have us, Alberta, maybe we can be brothers. Maybe we can be together in this. We have more in common than not. So we'll see how that all goes. RFK Jr.'s Health and Human Services is going to launch an investigative study on connections between 5G and neurological damage and cancer. We already know what they'll find now that we have some people who are willing to be a little bit more honest about things. So that'll be good. If we have maybe an end to 5G because of that, it would be fantastic for all of life on Earth. Canada also says it will fight the USA for Greenland. They don't even have an interest in Greenland until now. And they're like, we'll fight. We'll fight you for it. Yeah, good luck with that. Again, we'll trounce you. I'm not saying that as a patriotic anything. I'm saying it's just reasonably true. I don't know if this is true. They say the Trump administration is going to create a database of all of the leftists that are trying to obstruct ICE operations, and they're going to be like releasing that to the public. I doubt they're actually, that's what they're saying, supposedly. They're going to contact employers. This is what Tom Homan is saying. He's saying, we're going to make them famous. We're going to make them famous. It's what they're trying to do. They're trying to dox everyone. So we're going to dox them back. I don't know if it's even legal. So we'll see. But interesting tactic. By the way, speaking of Tom Homan, our border czar, he received a medal. So you can find this video floating around. I didn't know this. He received a medal from Obama for his work in ICE and deportations in the border. And the CNN loved it, and all the Obama people loved it, and now those same people like hate him and want him to die. Dude, it's amazing what propaganda can do to you. Oh, China and their old and our media is controlling so many minds and hearts right now. It's wild to watch. Bill was introduced in California to get toxicology reports on mass shooters to see if something like pharmaceuticals or other drugs could become, part of the problem of mass shooting, and Gavin Newsom vetoed it. What are you hiding, Gavin Newsom? Why would you not want to know the toxicology reports of these mass shooters? Huh? You asshole. Of course, it's SSRIs. Everyone knows. Trying to get some evidence about it, of course. So he's just protecting Big Pharma and the people who like to be able to mind control and trigger mass shootings. Ooh, old satanic globalist vibes there for sure. Scott Bessent ordered the geo-tracking of the money floating out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and suddenly everyone's upset. So it's funny because people were like, why aren't they stopping this money from going out? Why aren't they? We know that they're carrying cash in briefcases and whatever. And I said at the time, I'm sure they're tracking it. They can track it. And here they are saying, haha, we tracked it. Gotcha. And now they know exactly where all the money went. So I'm just saying, I'm not even on like the side of like whoever Scott Bessent is or whatever. I'm just a rational person and I can just see logically what might be going on. And while everyone else is like, why aren't they doing more? I'm often like, you don't know what they are doing. they might be doing more than, not everybody telegraphs 100% of their moves before they make them or while they're making them, because sometimes that makes them work less well. So you don't need to know everything all the time. Here's an example of that. So anyways, another bill was introduced in California to audit where $20 billion in missing homeless money went. It passed, and guess who vetoed it? Gavin Newsom. What an asshole. He doesn't want you to know where the $20 billion in homeless money went, and he doesn't want you to know that SSRIs are part of mass shooting. What is he hiding? Oh, you may have saw the bodyguards, the Cuban bodyguards that Maduro had that got killed in the raid that, removed him and brought him to New York for trial. You may have seen them return to Cuba in cigar boxes, or very small boxes at least, and leading to the question, what happened to their bodies? Did we vaporize them? Do we have vaporizing technology? We've got pretty exotic weaponry that I'm sure none of us know about, so who knows, but pretty weird. And I was saying on day 0 this past Sunday, I would have just put them in coffins anyway. I wouldn't have hinted that we got trounced so hard that our people are coming back as small piles of ash, right? I wouldn't have admitted that. I would have, at least for propaganda purposes, been like, oh, here's an entire big coffin. Look at this, right? That's what I would have done, but they didn't. So now we all know something weird happened, right? Probably they were vaporized somehow. Who knows? Directed energy weapons be crazy. Oh, yeah. By the way, Black America in general is not really on board with the anti-ICE thing. And white liberals really want them to be. And we've got a lot of fake, clearly agent provocateur, clearly paid actors who are Black and who are suddenly prominent in the movement, with the invasion of the church that we'll get to, and otherwise, and the fake Black Panther thing that's happening. That's obvious. But as far as just like normal African American communities are going, they're not generally as happy about this as the white people want them to be. So, leading all the white activists to call them like self-hating Black people or whatever garbage, nonsense, racism spews out of their mouth. But in general, here's someone explaining, Black America knows what lawlessness looks like. We lived with it for decades. This person said, I live in a blue city ghetto, broken windows, open drug markets, repeat offenders cycling in and out, victims told to cope, families told to adapt. Now the same people who abandoned our neighborhoods exported that chaos statewide. Illegals are running around and loose with less than zero cooperation from the state. Cashless bail, emptied jails, habitual offenders put back on the Democrat-run streets, police restrained, persecutors stopped from persecuting. And that's what they've been doing with all these mass illegal immigrants. It says, law is not oppression. Order is not racism. Borders are not hatred. American citizenship still means something. And that's all true. And I think this is the thing that a lot of people are going to get. They're going to get with. They're going to learn it somehow. We've moved beyond the period of time where you can get away pretending that law is oppression or that order is racism. We're beyond that now. There's still the loud, unhealed, usually white, female, liberal, middle-aged women, and boomers who aren't quite there, and they're loud and they're magnified by the media that really wants this to continue, this resistance to ICE and all of that, and the allowing of all the corruption and the massive funding of Somali daycares and whatever else that serves the globalist satanic interest. But the rest of humanity is coming to this like pretty easily, more or less, realizing, no, I'm okay with law and order, right? It's funny. Somebody said to me, like, you really have changed so much. And I'm like, no, you can go back to the beginning, before it was even called Rogue Ways, way before it was called Rogue Soul, and all the Rogue Ways. And you can find this same line. I have never been anti-law and order. I've never been just anti-police. I've never been anti-ICE. I've never been anti-law ever in my life, actually, even when I was really deeply anti-authority, even when I was communist. I've always done that. In fact, I almost became a lawyer. and I wanted to be a judge. Because I'm smart enough by far, and I also am a fair person, and I'm more fair than most people I've ever met. And I'm more logical than most people I've ever met. Uh, and and so those are things that would be ideal for a judge, right? But I didn't go that way. I went to like saying, well, you know what, the best good I can do in the world is to help children. And so I became a teacher and did that for many years. And my fairness and my logical, nature and my ability to be okay with law and order helped a lot as a teacher, for sure, as I think it would help anyone. But I've never, ever, ever been anti law and order. So when people say that, in general, what they're saying to me is, I didn't know you very well, and I'm getting to know you better. Instead of me changing, what you've actually found is that you didn't know me, and that's cool. It's fine. And also, no one has to agree, right? Nobody cares. I don't give a shit if you agree or anyone agrees. It doesn't matter. We're all allowed to think and have ideas, and they don't have to be the same ones. But to pretend I changed because you went insane with the psyop of ICE is really not fair, right? So I'm with this person. America's tired of it. Black America is tired of it. Working families are tired of it. And, the Constitution, he says, anticipated moments like this for a reason, and it doesn't require permission from activists to carry out law and order. So I'm with him. If there's a blatant abuse of power, I'm anti-tyranny. I've always been anti-tyranny. I've always been anti-corruption. I've always been anti-abuse of power. I've always been those things, and I remain those things. And if I saw those things, I'd be concerned about those things. And people also say things like, well, you never know when ICE is going to suddenly turn and just start snapping up citizens and whatever. I'm like, well, but we could just as easily say, and any point in our lives, you never know when someone's just going to shoot you in the head for no reason. Like, yeah, you never know technically what the future is going to be. That is no reason to be reacting to things that don't exist right now. It doesn't even make sense to even go there. Sure, if you want to just imagine, what if ICE came in and just started killing people for no reason? What would I do? Sure, imagine it. I don't know, but why pretend that anything like that is happening when it's not? Right? Deal with it when it comes, if it comes. Be vigilant about tyranny and oppression in general, but don't go overreacting to something because someday it might eventually lead to tyranny. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, I appreciated that. A lot more Black Americans are coming out and talking about it and saying no, we're for ICE. I don't know why you white people are trying to drag us into this. We are not on your side with this. Let us go. So we'll see. We'll see if the white people try to change their tune around it. I don't think they will. We'll find out. So they let kids out of school. Remember, we've talked about this multiple times. In Minneapolis, they canceled school till mid-February, and they said it was, I don't know, and I thought maybe it was so kids would go protest. And that is one of the reasons, although like we said last week on the Winning Report, another reason is to fill the daycares that have otherwise been empty so that they can pretend that those daycares are not fraudulent. Brilliant move. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. But in the meantime, these kids all went to the Capitol to protest ICE, which, by the way, just so you know, anytime you give a student an out from class to protest, even if they care nothing about it or are on the opposite side, most of them will take the opportunity. Because I don't know if you remember being in class, but most people wanted to be out of class. So these kids went to the Capitol to protest, and probably they don't care much about the topic. Some of them do, for sure. Most of them don't, for sure. But it did break out into a big brawl, because also when you leave a bunch of children unmanaged in public, and there's that many of them, they don't control their emotions very well. And there are rivalries, and someone's going to fight. This is why we don't leave children with unstructured time in school. It's the same in jail. Sorry, it's the same management strategy. It just is. And so, yeah, big brawls broke out at the Capitol, not because of their stance on ICE, just because they're kids and they have rivalries. So that happened. So much this week. Oh, Trump said a front page article in the fake news Wall Street Journal states without any verification that I offered Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase the job of federal chairman. This statement is totally untrue. There was never such an offer. So There you go. Fake news, just made something up. Oh, von der Leyen of the EU, European Union, was going to sign the Mercosur agreement. It's a trade agreement with South America. She said this agreement sends a very strong message to the world. It reflects a clear and deliberate choice. We choose fair trade over tariffs. We choose productive long-term partnership over isolation. This is, again, a globalist attempt at trading outside of the US's tariffs. And, you know, that's cool. I respect the attempt. By the way, that's been vetoed since then. So have fun with that. Trump announced 10% tariffs for Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, Netherlands, and Finland from February 1st, increasing to 25% on June 1st until a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. It's going to be reached. The Davos WEF vibe is that it's going to be reached. So whether those countries say they like it or not. A plane carrying 11 people vanished over the mountains in Indonesia. The Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries said 3 employees of his ministry were aboard the flight. That might be a China thing. China's got this whole kind of soft war going on, taking everybody's fish. It sounds weird, but it's true. They go right up to the line of international waters, fish all the fish they can, and then dip out. It's pretty fucked up, but that's how China rolls. And so maybe this is connected to that. I really don't know, but I thought it was interesting when planes disappear and have like a big group of one type of official or, you know, professional on board. That's always interesting to me of what's actually going on behind the scenes. Potentially. U.S. Speaker Johnson said, I don't foresee military intervention in Greenland. Diplomatic channels are the way to go. So obviously that's true. I don't know, everybody's pretending we're just going to go in and go to war. It's obviously not going to happen. Unless like China or Russia does show up on the scene, then we might take Greenland, you know, in that way, false flag or not, right? France, Macron said no intimidation or threat will influence us in Ukraine or Greenland. He has to say that, but it's not true. It's obviously working. So the Bank of England is urged to plan for a financial crisis triggered by an official announcement confirming the existence of aliens. Things like this happen a lot and people read a lot into it and they're like, see, aliens are coming. And no, maybe, sure. Like I've always said, at any point aliens could arrive. I have interacted with interdimensional intelligences since I was a young child, and those would be considered by most people to be aliens. So I have no qualms with like the idea that there are intelligences beyond us that exist in this universe. I would never call those aliens because they're not physical and they're not here in physical ships. And it's kind of beyond what we think of as physical. It's a higher form of life than us, higher consciousness than us. And so that's a different thing in my opinion, but I've admitted many times, and all of the people who I have introduced to these beings have also understood, oh, these aren't physical, right? My retreat this summer, 100% of people saw and experienced interaction with these beings. And so anyone can, right? But some people really attach to that idea. They're aliens and they have like a civilization somewhere and like ships and stuff. And so like, I get it. So anyways, all that to say like, yeah, sure, we can call some things aliens and pretend aliens are coming. But these are actually, they're like potentials that they just want to plan for. It's not because they know something we don't know, is my point. It's that they wonder, and then if that happened, what would happen and how would we respond? It's just an intelligent thing to do if you have a really high level business. So I never read anything else into those things than that. They've never meant anything, you know, an alien invasion is imminent previously, and they probably don't mean that now. Trump calls for regime change in Iran officially. That happened. Iran planned a permanent break from the global internet. That's been going on. Starlink has been stolen from people's houses. The internet's been turned off. It's very hard to get word out from whatever chaos might be going on inside Iran. The EU ambassadors have summoned an emergency meeting in order to deal with Trump's tariff threats about Greenland and Ukraine. That was before Davos and the WEF started. They're admitting that there's a new risk factor for mutated cells to our hearts that are connected with the injections. So even more heart troubles for people who got the injections or maybe were shedded on from the injected. A group of white male engineers eating at a deli in Minneapolis were surrounded and accosted by far left extremists who mobilized to the scene because someone said they were ICE. Again, they weren't ICE, and they've recorded it from their point of view, and it's hilarious to watch these mentally unwell freaks just like losing it. Yeah, ICE, yeah, just unwell, unhinged, violent, crazy people, just because they're wearing suits, dude. And you talk about profiling people, like, yeah, everyone profiles people. They're doing it too. Everyone looks at people and wonders what they're about based on how they look. That's just human nature. Like, you got to get over it. Also, it's okay. It's okay to do. These people are wrong. They're crazy. It's crazy to get in anyone's face because they're wearing a suit. But I mean, that's what these people are like. They don't actually care about your rights. Turns out they want to be the ones breaking all of what they say are the morality and the rules. Not you, not ICE, them. That's what it is. They're jealous. Trump administration is asking countries that want a permanent place on his new board of peace to contribute $1 billion in order to be part of it. He is really good at what he does. I know people don't want to admit it. Unfortunately or fortunately, or you're neutral or whatever, but he's good at it. Far left extremists also pursued anti-Islam activist Jake Lang for several city streets with impunity after stealing his phone from him and driving off with it down a city sidewalk, putting many lives at risk in order to get away with his phone or his camera. Sorry. So they'll do whatever they want. They'll steal from you. They'll accost you. They'll force you off the road. They'll get in your face, harass you, spit on you, throw frozen water bottles at your face, break your windows. They don't have boundaries. They're dangerous people. They're terrorists. Literally terrorists by definition, whether or not the state has a correct definition or not, they are fitting the definition. The internationally accepted dictionary definition of terrorists, which is someone who will forcefully force their point of view politically on you, and if you don't adopt it, they will conduct violence against you. That's a terrorist. The Iranian state TV broadcast a threat to Trump with pictures of his previous assassination attempt, saying, "We won't miss this time." I thought it was bullshit that Iran had anything to do with those attempts, but apparently it's not. Of their own word, right? They're saying now perhaps that was them. Either way, it was also the globalist satanic cabal. And so that's another way to look at it. Trump will be the worst foreign policy president for NATO and Greenland, it is said. We'll remember this forever as the worst. They'll forget his name. They both say he'll be remembered as the worst president, and also that everyone will forget his name because of his role in essentially dismantling NATO. People are like, he can't. Well, no, he's not actively dismantling. He is undermining it to such a degree that it makes no sense as an organization, and it will not continue to exist. And because of Greenland, and that the US absolutely will acquire Greenland. That will absolutely happen. It's like 100% chance. There's no chance anything else happens. So whether you like it or not, I'm just saying it's going to happen. And so those people are really mad, and that's what they're saying. He's the worst president ever. I don't know. I think people will definitely remember him for that, actually, whether you like it or not. The far left extremists in Minneapolis also accosted people wearing camouflage of any kind for any reason. Just a small amount is enough. Any United States friendly or patriotic looking gear, a flag anywhere on your body, anything that seems like it's patriotic, camo, flags, these types of things. They are approaching people, sometimes beating them, sometimes ripping the thing in question away from them, ripping their hats off, and saying things like, "If you don't want us to beat you, take it off." Those are thugs, bullies, and terrorists. Who is defending this? I don't know. They're crazy. You are crazy if you're defending that. Regular people just wearing camo. Oh My God, they're crazy. People are crazy. Journalists in Minneapolis shows also that, well, I don't know what, let's find out. That's where it got cut off. He shows that everywhere he goes, there's an army of cars honking and blowing whistles. He's not even ICE. He just has a Texas license plate, but they think he's ICE because they literally have an army of patrol cars and a database that just guesses. They're like, that's a federal looking vehicle, so we're just gonna assume it's ICE and then harass them. That's what they're doing. Oh, harassing them, forcing them off the road, attacking them, ripping their clothing off of them. And they think they're on the right side. They think they're the moral people. About 1,500 active duty Army paratroopers from the 11th Airborne Division based at Joint Base Elmendorf, Richardson, Alaska have been put on alert for potential deployment to Minnesota. I think that's also true for North Carolina troops. So they're also on potential deployment, or maybe they just got deployed. We'll get to it. The wildfire in Chile is ongoing so that Israel can buy up all the land there, as we've discovered last week. Milei had just said that's okay, and so now it's happening. Okay, we already talked about that. We already talked about them attacking anyone they perceive to be in any way not radically left, of which apparently wearing camo is one sign. Okay. Oh, a lot of Congress people traveled to Denmark on their own, essentially in order to tell Denmark, don't worry, we're on your side. We're not going to support Trump taking Greenland. Is it treason? I don't know. It's at least like, it's cool. In my opinion, it's like morally acceptable, whether it's technically illegal or not. It is morally acceptable. It's just an interesting choice. They're not going to stop it. It's going to happen. I don't know. They're welcome to try. The fundraisers for ICE agent injured by Renee Good topped $1 million. Renee Goods didn't, but that's only because the woman who was her wife stopped it at a certain amount and said, give whatever money you have left that you were going to give to us, give it to whatever anti-ICE organizations or protest, which is noble. I appreciate that. I can respect that. The police agent got $1 million, over $1 million. I'm sure that pisses most people off. I'm sure people are not happy about this. I'm like, hey man, anybody can be given $1 million through GoFundMe. Like, good for them. I want $1 million through GoFundMe. If you guys want to, set that up and bring that in for me, like, all praise to you. Climate alarmist Kamala Harris bought a Malibu mansion overlooking the ocean that she recently said was rising. No irony there. She does not care if you know that she's a lying cheater asshole. She just will say anything she needs to get whatever she wants and then move on with life. Trump cards are going to appear at banks across America. You can get a Trump card. What is it? There's so many interesting things he's doing that are, people hate just because it's different and new. And because he's Trump and they'll hate anything. He said he could save a child from a burning building and they would hate him for it. It's amazing. This is a Trump card with an interest rate of 10% through banks that want to join President Donald Trump in lowering credit card rates. I'll get one. I was just talking about how crazy interest rates have gotten with credit cards. Like, even if you have really good credit, it's like you can't find a card lower than like 20%. So I would happily do that. Even though I don't really pay interest, I just get the points and the, cash back and pay off my totals every month. But still, just in case, right? In case you needed to leave the balance there for some reason, 10% is better than 20. Tyler Robinson seeks to upend his case. He's the alleged shooter of Charlie Robinson by getting prosecutors disqualified. Go for it, you weirdo. Iran's president warns that any aggression against the supreme leader will lead to war with U.S. Yes, of course. Anti-ICE agitators in Minneapolis harass a man for wearing a hoodie that says freedom. It's literally just a hoodie that says freedom, and they force him to take it off. Dude, if you're not walking around with some ability to defend yourself in Minneapolis right now, you're crazy. Speaking of, far left anti-ICE extremists are now carrying rifles and guns. Openly anti-ICE protesters carrying guns. And as I said, I am proud of them for owning guns at all, for knowing how to use them if they do, and for using them in situations in which they feel, that that's a right thing to do. Very proud of them for that. I also personally have no faith that they're going to use these weapons appropriately. So we'll see where that goes for them. Definitely they're escalating things there. And I don't even think that's a, plotted part of this. Like, I think that's a somewhat organic response. I can see the agents being like, hey, what if we all started open carrying? But the people who are doing it, I don't think are agents. I think they're just regular people who think they're doing the right thing. So, oh, weird. Who's this? Paid protester William Kelly. So a lot of them are paid, by the way. Not all, but a lot of them, and they're usually the lead organizers, are paid by some of those CCP billionaires, like we talked about, the Chinese billionaires, and like Soros related funding and whatnot. And in some cases, even the fraudulent money that was given to all these daycares and other healthcare sort of things, illegally get funneled back into sort of Act Blue network type stuff and then fund this stuff. So your tax money's funding it's quite fascinating. But yeah, this was days after being arrested. Paid leftist agitator William Kelly, who travels the state to harass ICE, stormed a church and demanded churchgoers publicly denounce ICE and stand with Somalians and Latinos while swearing at parents and children, calling them white and comfortable, and that they needed to defend their, Latino and Somali brothers, and that their Jesus would have, done this and all of this stuff. Their pastor, he criticized the pastor for wearing a suit for some reason. Like, this guy is really intense. All the people that stormed this church with him are crazy people. It is absolutely illegal to interrupt a church service. That is protected by the First Amendment. That's not a protest or a gathering peacefully or a speech that is protected to storm a church. By the way, people are like, well, that's protected by the First Amendment too. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's just not. And specifically, your right to be at church practicing a religion is protected. So these people are being arrested already. That guy, if he hasn't been, is going to be arrested again. He calls himself, I think, the woke farmer. He definitely has agent vibes to him. I don't know that he is or not, but he's at least paid. So, you could consider him agent adjacent, right? Because he's a paid person who's doing this. So, yeah. Yeah, no respect for that guy from me. Oh, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon says multiple Democrat states are being sued because they refuse to provide voter roll information. This is the ongoing, effort to sort of clean up voting. And the states that refuse, guess who they are? They're the blue states who have all the sanctuary cities and all the illegal immigrants that they allow to vote without ID. It's those states. So yeah, of course they don't want to share their rolls, but it's going to come out. It's going to get taken care of. Trump sent a message to Norway's prime minister saying he no longer feels an obligation to think purely of peace because he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. This is the most Trumpian thing you could say. It's like an excellent troll, by the way. You could argue he's that immature emotionally, and I'm not necessarily going to argue against that, but what I see more in this is a troll. It's hilarious. So Japan's prime minister calls a snap election 3 months after taking office because parliament is dissolving on Friday. She's that first female prime minister of Japan, and I think she will remain, but everyone else is being replaced. So that's an interesting move in Japan. I will take that as them rooting out the globalists. If I end up being wrong, that'll be sad. My ideal would be that that's what's happening. We saw the WEF globalist agenda try to get its grips in Japan and assassinate some people and more. And I my hope is that this is her rooting some of that out. So God bless. Hopefully. Trump will not rule out using force to take Greenland. When he asked, he said no comment. So he did actually say they're not going to use force, but then when they asked him, he said no comment. So, Trump says a lot of things. A lot of people are stupid enough to think that that's him being indecisive or him changing his mind frequently. And I'm not saying it's 5D chess. I'm saying it's actually really, really, really normal level of actual strategic approach. You don't make it super clear because everyone expects him to do completely unexpected things. This adds to that, right? And that's effective because then no one knows what you're actually going to do. It's effective. You can hate it, but it's effective. Danish officials have decided not to attend the World Economic Forum. Just children. But I get it because they saw ahead of time, like, this isn't probably going to go our way as far as Greenland, right? And other things. And they couldn't be more right. It is not. You can see Gavin Newsom sweating and all the globalists like sweating and they're nervous and they're saying things like this has been the weirdest Davos ever. And they're saying, I'll read you some of it. It's amazing. It's actually so cool to see the globalist satanic order crumbling so quickly. And, we'll keep our eye on the Luciferian technocrats, but they're definitely winning. And I love to see it. So anyways, we'll get to some of that. Scott Bessent wants to deliver one key message at the World Economic Forum. America first doesn't mean America alone. So he's saying we're still looking to be collaborative. We're just not going to put up with bullshit. And I can respect that. That's how I am. I'll work with you. And if you respect me and I respect you, then we'll keep working together. And as soon as that's not there, we won't work together. It's easy. Having boundaries is good. Having boundaries is good. Trump wants a signing ceremony for his Board of Peace, and boy, did he get it. BlackRock chief and co-chairman of the World Economic Forum, Larry Fink, says capitalism must evolve. If AI does to white-collar work what globalization did to blue-collar, we need to confront that directly. Yeah, he's not wrong. Figure it out. Don Lemon and the anti-ICE protesters that stormed the church have brought the law down upon them. They're being arrested. There was a 100-car pileup in Ottawa County, in Zeeland Township in West Michigan. That's a 100-car pileup. Dude, I can't imagine the blockage that created and how long it took to sort it out. What the hell? Oh. Don Lemon excused himself, saying that the church they stormed was full of entitled white supremacists, and therefore it's okay. No, even if it was entitled white supremacists, it's still not okay. Being white, by the way, doesn't make you white supremacist. You're an asshole and you're a racist. But even if it was like flat out KKK flag burning or whatever they did, those people, still it'd be okay for them to go to church and not be interrupted. That's still allowed. In fact, the KKK storming churches is what this whole KKK Church Act thing was created for, and that's what's being used to arrest these people. So it's so ironic, so funny. The Party of Socialism and Liberation is funded by the CCP billionaire, and they're the ones who are organizing anti-ICE protests. And this is just one of many connections to CCP billionaires that some of these far less socialist, communist ideologues have been connected to. Neville Roy Singham is one of the CCP billionaires, also with dark money ties to Soros. So as I said, the globalists and the CCP are connected, at least, if not one and the same. And they have been funding all of these far left organizations. So it's not organic and it's not unfunded, and it is funded by our enemies. And it's cool if you like what they're doing, but just know that you're also then on the side of the CCP and Soros, even if you think there's moral reasons to be doing it. Gunmen's kidnapped 150 Christians in Nigeria in the ongoing Christian genocide in Nigeria. Pray for the Christians in Nigeria. They say Zuckerberg's Threads has surpassed Musk's X in daily mobile users, reaching 141.5 million compared to X's 125 million. I don't believe them. I've never even heard of anyone using Threads, so maybe I'm totally wrong, but that's just not unbelievable to me. You may remember me talking about Professor Sucharit Bhakdi. He looks Asian. He speaks in a German language and accent. He's a doctor. He was the first to come out with evidence that the injections created microtubules and cavities in the brain, causing severe brain damage to people who are being injected. He has plenty of evidence about that. That was years ago. And so we talked about him multiple times on the show here and that work that he's done. And he comes out now and he says he's no longer hopeful because so many people have such severe brain damage. And so if you've been walking around wondering, did everyone get brain damage? Yes, you're right, they did. You're not crazy for noticing people actually did get stupider, more violent, more able to be triggered emotionally. And so it may seem like mind control. It does. And I wonder if there's a component of that there. But if you've ever interacted with people with brain injuries, that's also how they act. It's very easy to get them triggered and emotional and violent and reactive because they're in general kind of confused and very scared. And people react emotionally and violently when they're in that state. They're under-resourced. I just wrote an article about this on Substack as well. Not the brain damage part, but being under-resourced in general and trying to have a conversation or just a society with people who are deeply under-resourced emotionally and mentally, and how difficult that is. But this is adding to that, right? There's literal actual brain damage. And we've talked about before, the IQ average may have dropped 20 points. So it's intense. And so the doctor that discovered that is like, I'm not hopeful anymore. Everyone's going to crash and burn, which is sad to hear someone like that say. Pretty sad. And yeah, we have fake Black Panthers organizing to guard their community against ICE, they say. I say fake because, I mean, they might be real, but you just take a look at them and you tell me that that doesn't scream Fed op. Just let me know what you think. And I mean that because if you look at the pictures of these are like, I'm sorry, but it's true. If you look at leftist organizations, I was in them, I know, communists, USA, like here we go. The people who are in these organizations tend to be mentally and emotionally unwell and ugly and often fat. And I'm sorry, there's a few that aren't that, but the vast majority are that. And there's a reason for that. And I'm not saying, there's not ugly fat people outside of those groups, but those groups tend to be people who aren't very sexually appealing in general, don't have the standard beauty, that people are looking to in a society. And they're those who is often in these groups. So that's just true. You can fight me on it or whatever, but it's true. It's a thing that I've noticed. And if you look at this Black Panther Party, it is like beautiful, chiseled, like models. And I'm like, yeah, right, dude. I don't believe you. And also just the way they behave and act and their facial and their mannerisms and all of the speeches they're giving, like they're all so curated to create this image. And it's not working, which is great. Those actors are going to continue to act, but it's not motivating the Black community. So, and that's what it's meant to do. So yeah. They really want that to work. They really want it to work. And I'm so proud that it's not working. So that's great. Tina Peters in Colorado continues to be assaulted and thrown into solitary confinement. Someone said Governor Polis might be pardoning her soon, which would be amazing and very unexpected. But she's being abused and thrown into solitary confinement. In the meantime, random prisoners are like attacking her, which is obviously not random. If you don't remember, she's the one who gathered the data that proved that the election was stolen electronically through backdoor / Smartmatic / Maduro / Argentina / the Chinese Communist Party in Colorado in 2020. And so they have just relentlessly tried to destroy her since then. And so not good for her. Pray for her. And hopefully she's going to be pardoned soon. That would be a huge win. People. Already talked about most of this. Oh, in Virginia, there was an election. A bunch of Democrats took back the power and had the most seats or whatever it is. The governor there is Democrat now in the House and whatever. And so they've passed these things that are quite interesting. Within 48 hours, they already introduced a bill to outlaw the hand counting of ballots for any reason. Within 48 hours of getting power, they passed a bill to ban recounts of any kind for any reason. That's insane. There's one reason you do that, and it's to steal elections. Anybody who thinks that they're a Democrat and moral should be opposed to that. Obviously, everyone else should be. This is insane, dude. Oh my God. So that's Virginia. Not just that, but they also immediately, within hours, passed a bill that reduced the ability to charge and the sentences for child sex crimes and child pornography. What? Just openly satanic globalist energy here. Like, the Democrats are just openly Satanist globalists. Like, what the hell? Okay, so that's Virginia right now, guys. Pray for Virginia. Dear God. What did you guys allow to happen there in Virginia? Get your shit together. Putin and some Belarusian leaders were also invited to be part of the peace board. So this is what I'm saying. It's so fascinating to watch these geopolitical shifts. And this is what I was saying. I think Russia's actually more on our side than we were allowed to think. And there is an example for you. Is they're invited to the Board of Peace, the technocratic government that will replace Israel and Palestine. Yeah. Yeah, Russia said for certain reasons we can't help remembering the Second World War, we're witnessing a profound tectonic shifts in the world order itself. Yeah, what I just said, huh? For sure. The technocrats are gaining power, and even Russia's admitting it. Ursula again of the EU, she's doing the Mercosur thing, and then she was saying we're also on the verge of the mother of all deals with India. Those are also going to fall through, by the way. Mercosur did too. She admits we are in this geopolitical seismic shifts, but this provides opportunities for new allies and alignments. And so that's also what she says. This is all happening around Davos and the World Economic Forum, by the way. Newsom says Europeans should stand tall and firm and have a backbone. He said, I should have bought a bunch of knee pads for the world leaders. Diplomacy with Donald Trump, he's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you. Is that your personal, private fairy tale that you would like to happen? Is that your passion that's deep in your heart, Newsom? Because that's oddly specific, that you want a T-Rex Trump to mate with you. Your fantasy is showing. Sorry. As he says it, he's like red in the face. He's like sweaty and twitchy. Like, it's so clear that they see their power crumbling and this other order they never saw coming taking place. And I love it. I love it. I'm not even sorry about how much I love it. I love watching Satanists squirm. Not sorry. Not sorry if what replaces it isn't perfect. It is so much better. Co-founder of Anthropic calls out Trump's policy allowing NVIDIA to sell high-speed chips to China. He said, I think this is crazy. It's like selling nuclear weapons to North Korea. He's not wrong, but I wonder if there's something else going on there that we're not aware of. Al Gore says that 2 billion climate migrants will cross international borders. And since all the migrants we've had already have already changed society so much, he wonders what society will be like after that. I think this is also a fantasy. I think things are changing faster than they realize, and that what they had planned, which is that, might not take place now. Oh. The current global order, Macron says, is lagging behind the US, and they're facing the Chinese approach. I think he's essentially saying the same thing. Again, everything's changing. And, we have to either figure out how to make us and China and the globalist Satanists win, or we have to figure out what to do instead. he does this as he's wearing sunglasses, by the way, because he has a black eye that his husband gave him, but allegedly. Yuval Harari, the absolute insane psychopath, says AI will take over anything made of words, and that including the Bible. Says Judaism calls itself the religion of the book, and it grants ultimate authority not to humans but to the word. And so what happens when the greatest expert on the holy book is AI? To which I say, why would I ever defer to AI being an expert on anything? If the word is the word, I interpret it directly myself. I don't need AI to do that for me. And if you're stupid enough to let AI do it for you, then yeah, AI will become your essentially between you and God. So if you insert AI between you and God, may you find some sort of peace and way through that. God bless you, because that would not be the way to go. Oh, talked about that. 2 police officers were shot in Portland, Oregon, as leftist anti-ICE riots took over the streets again. I'm not sure if the rioting continued or what's being done about that. That's sad to see. Kristi Noem and also Trump also made a big deal of coming out with like exactly who's been arrested by ICE so far and their types of crimes, often including murder and child rape. So just in case people were wondering like what types of people have been being arrested, they've emphasized that. Someone named Pam Grier, who apparently used to be really beautiful in Hollywood and now is not, was on The View. And she said that when she was a child, she saw a lot of lynchings, or like her mom tried to keep her from seeing the lynchings. But lynchings have not happened in her lifetime. So she's just a liar. But apparently young and stupid people don't know that. So that's an interesting piece of propaganda. Oh, the FBI had issued subpoenas now to Tim Walz, Jacob Free, and Keith Ellison. Those are the leaders of Minneapolis, the attorney general, the governor, and a mayor. And so they've been subpoenaed now. They were being investigated. Now they're being subpoenaed. Things are picking up in that. Trump signed an executive order to bring back mental institutions. I am all for it. We got rid of them, and that was stupid. We definitely need them. I, by the way, know people who are mentally unwell who would like mental institutions. So this isn't some sort of like oppressive thing. It can be just like anything, and you should watch out for it, and we should protect against that. But people who are mentally unwell, who go into like manic phases, for example, or schizophrenic delusions, for example, they want help with that. And they would like a safe place to be while they're going through those things so that they can be okay. So if you're out there being like, no, maybe you should talk to the people who it actually affects and find out if it's good for them from their perspective. So that's great. In my opinion, that's a huge win. There's this AI monk on Twitter, leading me back to another thing that's driving me crazy lately, which is that people are becoming less capable of seeing AI content instead of more. We should have been getting better with it as it's getting better, and instead it seems like people are getting worse at this. So there's this AI monkey, looks very realistic, kind of. But if you actually look, you can tell the light isn't quite right, and the way he moves is a little too perfect, and he has no verbal fillers, and he has no like pauses or differences in the speed or the cadence of the way he speaks, and that's not how humans are. And so you can actually tell that it's fake, but there's like thousands of comments on every one of his videos of people who are like, oh my God, you're so wise, and this is so helpful. And I don't know if they're all bots too. I hope so. That's my desperate hope, because I'm like looking through the comments and not a single person is like, you're AI, this is fake. I'm the only one. No one else is. So I'm like, God, I hope those are all bots and this is all fake too, because this is fake. So like I said, I released a video yesterday. Some people follow me on TikTok or Instagram or other places, so maybe you saw it and some of you don't, but same message here today. If you're not encountering literally any video, audio, text, anything and first asking yourself, is this real? You're already failing this game. You have to start there. 100% of things. It's not just for false flags anymore, potential like world events or those things. It's for 100% of things. Is this real? If you're not starting there, you're failing. Trump's Air Force One was late. It had electrical issues, which we can assume were part of that big, giant, huge solar storm that hit us this week. That was crazy. And in the top 10 solar storms of all time recorded, not actually all time, but that we've ever recorded in the history of recording things, top 10, probably that. A lot of electronic weirdness this week from that. That's what we expect when we get big storms like that anyways, but more so because our magnetosphere is weak because of the ongoing geomagnetic excursion, in which will end either in the pole flip or the poles going back to normal, but in the meantime will be crazy. And it has been this week. Back to Davos and WEF. The recklessness and the spending of governments around the world has to stop. We hope that AI is the savior that we need. Okay, I hope so too, Guy. Japan is to restart the world's biggest nuclear plant after 15 years shutdown, while Germany has shut down all its nuclear plants in the meantime. Yes, this has been the other thing at Davos and the WEF that is shifting, which is definitely, again, a sign towards the technocrats and the Luciferians and against the globalist Satanists, is that they're going back to nuclear. They're admitting now we cannot move forward on renewable energies, so-called green energies. It's not even possible to maintain anything like a standard of living, let alone have AI or electronics, and in computation and, data storage and all those things that we would need going forward without nuclear. So that's a big shift too. Japan's on the cutting edge of that. We are also doing that in the US, and poor Germany destroyed itself. So I hope they get to rebuild some of those things. They literally didn't just turn them off so they could use them again later, potentially. They demolished them, their nuclear energy centers. So bad choice. Talked about it then, still bad choice now. Oh, Finland says it can absolutely defend itself without America. Sure, you go ahead and try that. I hope you can. I'm all for it. The European Union froze US trade deals approved indefinitely over Trump's Greenland threats. That's fine. We don't need those. Trump invites the Pope to his board of peace. The Pope has neither declined nor accepted yet. We'll find out what the Pope does. Smart move, if that's what you want. And here's a cool post. It's just like I've been saying. This person agrees with me that globalism is dying in Davos. So this is from Jim Ferguson. I don't know who he is, at Jim Ferguson UK. He says, globalism just died in Davos. Howard Lutnick just walked into the lion's den and told the World Economic Forum exactly what they didn't want to hear. Globalism has failed. Not whispered, not softened, declared on their own stage. He dismantled the entire WEF doctrine in minutes. Offshoring hollowed out the West. Cheap labor destroyed innovation. Net zero made Europe dependent on China. Sovereignty begins with borders, and nations must control their industry, energy, and medicine. Then came the line that shook the room as he said, why would Europe agree to net zero when they don't even make a battery? That's the truth. Globalists can't answer, he said. So that's just one more of the big shifts in the energy and the messaging at Davos and the WF. It's not unified. It usually is, but you can see the schism this time, and that's fascinating to me. So like I said, North Carolina has been ordered to prepare for possible deployment to Minneapolis too. So that's Alaska and North Carolina. Trump also started immigration enforcement operations in Maine, targeting Somalis specifically. DHS agent was injured after an immigration enforcement operation went wrong in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles and Portland, now we've had some injured officers, probably in connection with, who knows? I don't know. I haven't looked into either of those enough to know if it was protester related or if it was, who they were after, because they're often after quite dangerous criminals. So sometimes they shoot back, right? It's a part of the job. Trump has reached a framework for Greenland and the entire Arctic region with NATO Security General. So now the NATO Security General is on board, and that's why I told you it's happening. It's going to happen. The Clintons held in contempt of Congress. Like, very exciting. I hope they get arrested. That'd be one of the best moments of our modern experience here in the political and societal landscape. And ICE officers can assert power to forcibly enter people's homes without a judge's warrant, according to an internal ICE memo. I do think that's always been true. They're just affirming something that's always been true. So people are big on the like warrant thing, and this has always been different because it's about illegal immigrants and not citizens. And people are also like, there's no due process. It's never been guaranteed to an illegal immigrant, so it was never a thing to take away because it didn't exist. So it's a weird thing to criticize since it was never a thing. But Putin came out and said, yeah, why can't the US have Greenland? They can buy Greenland. He's like, we sold them Alaska. They bought Alaska. Why can't they buy Greenland? They can do whatever they want. If people want to sell things and buy things, that's how it can go. Why, if it could work back then, why not now? So Putin essentially is like, yeah, the US is going to buy Greenland and I'm cool with it, which is cool. Okay. We started arresting some of the people who stormed that church. The Board of Peace did have an official WEF Davos a whole presentation, and everybody seemed excited about that. So, I mean, this guy has the ability to make things happen, and it's happening. I don't think they expected it. It wasn't on the agenda for the WEF at Davos, but he just came in and made it happen. The UK has moved its first asylum seekers or illegal immigrants into military barracks, as we talked about they were going to do. Now they're doing it. And I pointed this out back when they were doing it during COVID. I was like, if you didn't want concentration camps, it was a bad move to move in a bunch of illegal immigrants, because now that they're being moved to the military barracks, that is closer to concentration camps than anything else we've ever had. It's allegedly not against their will. They still want to be there. So far, so good. But it's a bit creepy. I'd rather send them back to their place. And I don't know why they'd want to be there, but oh well. The Board of Peace was officially ratified and established as an international organization at Davos again. Or maybe this was back. No, I think it was at Davos. Board of Peace. Yeah, because that's where everybody was. So the Honeywell CEO says solar power can't produce cement or steel. We need energy intensive. We need nuclear. Yes. So again, these are the big shifts at Davos. Jared Kushner unveiled the slideshow showing the master plan for the future of Gaza and asked people on social media to just calm down for 30 days. Let's do our best to try working together, he says. Our goal is peace between Israel and Palestinian people. I'm kind of with him on that. Like, why don't you chill out and see what actually happens? It cannot be worse than what's already happened. So maybe, just maybe, and if not, well, then it'll be the same thing that has always been happening and no different. So you can still be sad about it, but maybe it won't be as bad as you think. Who knows? I'm so sick of the black pill doom scrolling, like addiction to everything being horrible. Okay, let's try to wrap this up here, guys. What else happened at Davos? We also have, this is again, the end of the liberal world order. Finland's president said, if we want to preserve the liberal world order, by which they mean the globalist, Satanist world order, he said, we've got to go back to what we were trying to do before, giving everyone in the world power, not just these superpowers. So he's also acknowledging the big shift and that it's not what they had wanted. And then Elon Musk does this really interesting thing. He's talking to Larry Fink about all sorts of stuff. And he says, quote, it's really all about the sun. He says this while talking about the acquisition of Greenland. Now, this goes back to this perception by some, myself amongst them, that most of this rush for Greenland is more about the fact that the poles are about to flip than anything else. Now, it happens to also be a good move geopolitically against China and against the globalist Satanists. That's also true. But he says this, it's really about the sun. And he says that in quotes, and no one presses him on it, and he doesn't go into greater detail. But what's also interesting is someone who's big on this geomagnetic excursion pole shift event that is coming, that I also agree is coming sooner rather than later. He said, if Elon Musk is not in the pocket of the globalists and he actually is doing something different, then he should probably be honest about Greenland being potentially about this geomagnetic excursion and not something else. And then Elon Musk said, it's really all about the sun. So I find that to be fascinating and a big indicator that that's exactly what's going on, which I know scares a lot of people. You get right with your soul and with God, and you're no longer scared of things like that. So I pray for you. Oh, they're still going hard trying to fight in Ukraine against Russia. I think it's a dying cause. Trump is suing JP Morgan for debanking him for political reasons. I hope he wins. Screw those people. Nigel Farage says that he has enjoyed WEF this year as, quote, there's a genuine debate. There are different opinions now rather than the sort of consensus view that I certainly felt was coming out from the globalists. Do you hear that? That's the most direct it gets of this tectonic shift, of this schism, of this globalist dying order and this new technocratic order. So you love it or hate it, I don't care. It is absolutely what I've been saying the whole time. And by the way, what a lot of people have mocked me for, I don't think those people are listening, and I don't think they even have a chance of breaking through their own egoic delusion enough to consider that maybe I'm not retarded, you fucking asshole. Federal magistrate dismissed the Justice Department's attempt to charge Don Lemon for his involvement in the anti-ICE invasion of that church. So he might get away with it because he's got some sort of journalistic, it's at least plausible that he really was just covering a story. It seems like he organized it with them and acted with them, so you could make that argument. But I could see how he could get away with it. But the rest of them, they're getting arrested and charged for sure. And finally, the U.S. is considering a complete withdrawal of American troops from Syria. And so that, never opposed to that myself. And that is the news that we've got so far. Let's just check one more place here. Mark Carney of Canada is essentially speaking out against the Alberta independence movement and saying we need to stay united. We're stronger together. He's not wrong. If Alberta goes, they're done for. And their whole goal of, joining with China is done for too. So he's trying to hold on to the globalist view still, and it's not going to work. So that's good. Okay. And that's all the news that's fit to talk about tonight. We're getting back to those longer winning reports because things are heating up in the world. And as I said, a lot of this stuff you can see scary or not scary, love Trump, hate Trump, love ICE, hate ICE, whatever. But overall, I hope you're at least seeing that shift away from what had been planned for the world, which was way darker than what's happening, even if what happens isn't perfect. So that shift towards the Luciferian and the technocratic really is a better outcome for all of us. And, at the same time, we have this geomagnetic excursion. Will the poles flip? If they do, will it cause global catastrophe? And if so, what survives and what remains? And, at that point, especially if the Luciferian technocrats are the people who are in control instead of the Satanists, well, that bodes better for what will be rebuilt too, right? Again, we will all still need to retain our highest mind, our highest hearts, and our highest vision of what can be done with humanity here on Earth, no matter what happens. And until you know that and hold that within yourself, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Glued to these screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood wands of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed softly. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.